Welcome to qualifying for the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. Two groups, 10 minutes on track per group, and the fastest 6 cars from each group advance to round 2, where we'll have another 10-minute session before the 6 cars there go through to the final. Welcome to qualifying here for what is going to be a classic round of the championship. Let's join our commentary team with Fox Sports.
Here on this track surface is very narrow, and we've seen drivers be caught out by that. And when we see gaps in practice where 1/10 could be the difference between 6, 7, sometimes 8 spots, you got to absolutely nail it.
And it's not just about the gaps in terms of time, it's about trying to find a gap out on track. It's a relatively short circuit here, just over 2 miles in length. And earlier today in practice, Will Power certainly felt that Alex Palou didn't give him enough of a gap out there on circuit. This, the onboard from the number 12, slowing down as Palou came out onto the track from the pit lane. And after the session, Will Power went to vent his frustration, shall we say, with Alex Palou.
I was treating her. I always move people out of the way. I always get out of the way. Like you just the whole session. Good job out there. Yeah, thank you. Why is he not talking to you? What? Who? Who? Oh. Is he mad? Yeah.
Palou all smiles, but what about Power?
So that was interesting, Will, at the end of the last practice session. What were you most upset about? What was resolved?
I went out in new tires, and he came out a lap later in front of me and then stayed there and then spent 4 laps just going slow. So I had to keep backing up, which was frustrating. And then I came in, made a change, went out on a money lap, sent him out of the pits again right in front of me, and he didn't move. He just kept going, and I had to back up again. So and he didn't have anyone in front of him, and I had clear behind me. He could have just backed off, which I always do for him and anyone else if I'm in that position. So just a little bit frustrated with that, whether it's on him or they sent him there. But he said sorry when I walked up because he knew, but we're struggling. We're trying to get an idea of what our car is doing, and if you keep backing up, lose tire temp, you don't know. So that's why I was frustrated.
Do you know what you have? Because you didn't get a clean lap yesterday on the softs and didn't get one today in practice either on the hards.
Not really. Yeah, I think it's frustrating for everyone to get a lap because these tracks are small with so many cars. But gonna have to send it, man. Like, gonna have to push very hard to get through. So that's the goal.
He's won 5 poles here, going for number 6 today.
Well, that's Power's reaction. Alex Palou watching the replay back, and that's his reaction to it all. Qualifying follows.
underway then here for the first session. As we wait for Fox Sports to come back, it sees McLaughlin, Lundgaard, O'Ward, Herta, Ferrucci, Siegel, Rasmussen, Abel, Ericsson, Daly, Simpson, Robb and Devlin DiFrancesco in 13th position as well. 10 minutes on the board then, timer is ticking down and the field are venturing out onto the circuit. Let's hope it's going to be a good one.
Underway at Mid-Ohio. There are your drivers, Lundgaard, O'Ward, Colton Herta, Kiffin Simpson, Christian Rasmussen, Marcus Ericsson is on track, the team having rebuilt his car after the crash that we saw in practice too. Nolan Siegel, Scott McLaughlin, Connor Daly, Devlin DiFrancesco, Stingray Robb, Santino Ferrucci and Jacob Abel. To ride on board with Pato O'Ward, this bridge, this white line, this is where the lap officially begins.
Yeah, that's the alt-start finish line. So Pato through turn 11 here at what's essentially the first corner of this flying lap. And what's such a challenge about this session for these drivers here at Mid-Ohio is with the new tire for the hard, that black sidewall tire that they're on right now for these banker laps, or at least Pato is, it's a little bit harder than last year, and the idea behind that was to make the gap in grip, the gap in lap time bigger between the hards and the softs. And Townsend, as you know, that means that when you go from these banker laps on the hards to the softs, that jump in grip is so much bigger. The amount of time you have to find, the trust you have to have in the car, it's that much bigger of a jump, and that's a huge challenge around this place.
Yeah, and really it's the balance change front to rear as you see the definition of a banker lap, kind of your baseline. Think of it like you're applying to four-year universities out of high school. These are your safety schools, if you will, and you know you're going to get the lap in. You're maybe not going to go too aggro, but where it gets hard when the soft tire comes on later is you pick up more rear grip relative to the black tire, and then you have to anticipate the setup changes. Oftentimes the teams will do that by taking out a little bit, or sorry, adding front wing with the soft tire. So Pato O'Ward completes his lap.
And this a replay on board with Pato O'Ward while he was just out there on a warm-up lap, just trying to connect the hose. It is incredibly hot out there, ambient at 91 degrees. Track temperature up to a whopping 124.7 right now. It's Lundgaard, though, with the fastest time in the early running from O'Ward and Siegel, the McLaren trio, as Ericsson jumps right up to the top immediately on a 106.4, and that is on the soft tire. So too Connor Daly on the soft tire, a 106.9.
So just kind of watching here with Christian Lundgaard, does the team make any changes to the setup? They're certainly going to add just the right amount of fuel. And James, that's a critical decision. Do you fuel for 2 flying laps or 3 flying laps? In the case of Marcus Ericsson, who crashed in practice this morning, he said, I want 3 flying laps. I want to get my confidence back on the soft tire. In the case of Christian Lundgaard, you might just say, you know what, give me 2 and let me make the most of the tire and not carry any extra weight.
Yeah, Townsend, we were talking to him just a few moments ago before this session began. He said this first run, he wanted 3 laps, go out, absolutely blast it on those soft tires. Then when he goes out, he's going to use his first lap, his banker lap essentially, as another prep lap, and then go for the full push on the second. So fuel for 2 full laps.
James, he got into the wall pretty heavily in practice. He said he felt great about his race car and was up a 1/10 of a second, and we'll get another look at it here, but it was a wallop of a nose-on impact.
Yeah, big oversteer moment in the last corner, turn 13, overcorrected and then head on. Worst angle, really, to hit in an IndyCar. Head on into that tire barrier. The tire barrier doing its job, the car doing its job from a safety standpoint. Now this thing polished up, back out on track and going quick so far.
Hinch, you say the worst type of impact that you can have in an IndyCar, and yet Marcus said, actually, I was really happy with the way that it went in. Not happy it went in, obviously, but happy with how it went in and where it went in, because it's basically just a nose change and the right front suspension. Didn't do any damage to the floor, didn't do any damage to the side pods, the rear wing, any of the rear suspension. Just one corner that needed replacing for the team, and he hoped he would have that same base setup underneath him, that same confidence that he's shown all the way through this weekend, because he has looked like one of the fastest drivers all the way through this.
He has, and look, the red strategy here in Q1 is a little bit risky. It does compromise your race strategy a little bit if it ends up being a red race, but as we know, Mid-Ohio is so important to have track position, and a good qualifying is absolutely key as he uses everything on that final corner coming to the line up to P2. 0.2 of a second behind Devlin DiFrancesco right now.
We're about 0.6 of a second away from the ultimate speed that we've seen so far this weekend. A 1:05.3 set by Alex Palou this morning in second practice. Pole last year was a 1:05.3 again, also set by Alex Palou. He will run in the second group, which I've got to tell you folks is absolutely stacked with talent and champions. We sit on board now with Scott McLaughlin. This turn 4 has been a huge challenge for the drivers all the way through this weekend. It's been reprofiled, it's been relayed. Some of the camber, some of the banking that was formerly there has been taken away. That won't save you anymore if you get it wrong into 4. And then that gravel runoff, there's no dip down anymore. It's been leveled up to try and stop some of the big accidents that we've seen there in the past as McLaughlin now starts a proper flyer.
Scotty Mack did have an issue in that newly pre-profiled turn 4 in practice yesterday because where they've laid the new asphalt for the corner, there's a big transition bump in the brake zone. We'll see in a couple more corners here as McLaughlin's still warming his tires. But this is a look at what happened in Friday practice. Upper left-hand corner, there's the transition, and that's the bump. It caused McLaughlin to get wide, lose the back of his race car, and this has been a theme throughout the last 24 hours is hanging on to the back of the car, especially James on the hard black tire.
Yeah, exactly right. Just seems like offline, like we were saying, just nowhere near as much grip is on. And with the extra weight in the back of these race cars from that hybrid system, once it goes past a certain yaw point, it seems really tough for the drivers to catch. We've seen so many drivers, over half the field has been off the racetrack at some point this weekend, including this guy right here, the Gamebridge Honda driver for Andretti Global, Colton Herta. He's had several off-track incidents and even found the wall at the bottom of turn 6.
So Herta 2 and a bit seconds off this, then another prep lap for him. 2.5 minutes of the session remain. Devlin DiFrancesco, fastest driver so far from Marcus Ericsson. Stingray Robb, Connor Daly, they the only drivers to have set lap times on the softer rubber. Then Kiffin Simpson and Scott McLaughlin. You've got to say that time from Simpson looks very impressive. So too the one from McLaughlin, given that they haven't set it yet on the softer rubber.
And guys, look, this red-red strategy worked to great effect at Road America. You think back to both RLL drivers, Ray Hall and Foster made it all the way to the Fast 6. By doing that, they were not particularly quick in practice, did red-red in qualifying, kept tuning on it, and ended up getting themselves into the Firestone Fast 6. So I think a lot of teams would have seen what they did at Road America and applying that same philosophy here.
What I like about Marcus Ericsson's run on the Reds was that first run, it was 1 lap and in. I think it leaves him the possibility that if he advances, he's got a set of used Reds that are still pretty fresh.
We sit on board with McLaughlin. Keep an eye on Lundgaard's time as well. He's coming through turn 6 at the moment, getting towards the completion of the lap. But on board with McLaughlin up to second place, we now pull to Christian Lundgaard, who's having a mighty lap. 1.1 seconds to the good. This will see him through into the fastest 6 of the session so far, and it takes him all the way to the top with a brilliant 1:05.2. Now back on board with Rasmussen down in 11th, but has looked fast all the way through this weekend. 4/10 up as he navigates his way through turn 9. Will be exiting to the line, and over the line for Rasmussen will take him up into the top 6 and into 4th. So on the outside looking in, Colton Herta. It's a nice looking lap from him, 4/10 to the good. And up to second.
That's a big old margin for Christian Lundgaard. That's a very solid lap, a little bit quicker than what we saw in practice. Of course, that was on the hard tires. Track temp up over 20 degrees from what we saw in practice. That changes things significantly for these drivers. As Connor Daly jumps in there, Stingray Robb, both the JHR cars currently sitting inside the top 6.
Wow. And with only 15 seconds of the session remaining, what can Nolan Siegel do? He's down by a considerable margin at the moment. Ferrucci is up, so too this man. Christian Rasmussen, 1/10 to the good, up through turn 5. Now down into 6 and through the sweepers. Christian Rasmussen, who has had 1 podium so far this year, his first in the NTT INDYCAR series, has come on so strong over recent races. Just 1 corner remains as he blasts it down to the line. Oh, and a big moment for him. Over the line for Christian Rasmussen. And it's good enough for 4th.
Good enough for 4th. 4 now. Checkered flag is out. The Goodhart Chevy Stingray Robb trying to work his way back in. He's just about there, only a 10th off. Needs a good run out of 9, but it's going the wrong way.
How about Scott McLaughlin? What a disaster for Team Penske this weekend. He's 1,700s down. He's starting to claw back. If he can keep up this grab here, he might get a shot. 1 corner to go. It's going to take a big chunk. I don't think it's enough.
It's nip and tuck for Scott McLaughlin over the line. Is it enough? It's not for Scott McLaughlin. Nolan Siegel, though, is up. Nolan Siegel is just under a 1/10 of a second to the good coming through. Can he make his way into the 6 and depose Daly? He can, and it's good enough for 4th place. So Lundgaard, Ericsson, Herter, Siegel, Rasmussen, and Simpson progress.
And guys, Pato O'Ward does not. The de facto team leader of the McLaren squad, out-qualified by both his teammates, does not advance to Q2.
But look at McLaughlin, 105.8. There's a Chevy quickest with Lundgaard in P1. McLaughlin did not appear to be impeded. He's going to start 21st tomorrow.
2 McLarens make it through, but it's not the 2 that we'd normally expect. It's Lundgaard and Siegel with Ericsson, Herter, Rasmussen, and Kiffin Simpson.
Quite an unusual first group then to go out on the deck. So Lundgaard goes into it as well for the advances, along with Ericsson, Herter, Siegel, Rasmussen and Simpson, as Will Buxton has said though. But out of it goes Daly, O'Ward, Ferrucci, Robb, McLaughlin, Devlin DiFrancesco and Jacob Abel. Big shock for Penske once again. They are having the absolute season from hell. As we see, cannot believe that McLaughlin was 0.5 of a second off of Lundgaard's own time as well. So we turn our attention then to Group 2 of the first segment of qualifying, and that is going to feature with Joseph Newgarden, David Malukas, Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, Will Power and Graham Rahal, Rinus VeeKay, Alexander Rossi, alongside as well coming in with Carl Kirkwood, Louis Foster, Felix Rosenquist, Marcus Armstrong and Robert Schwartzman also going on the deck to come in to play today. It's going to be quite an interesting run as we get ready. It's on the international feed now as well. We're about to have an interview coming in with Scotty Mack. Kevin Lee will be standing by shortly. Group 2 then about to start. Let's head back over to our colleagues at INDYCAR on Fox as we get set for the next action. Will Power watching on. Ready to go in the car also is Louis Foster in the 45. Couldn't quite tell where he was in the timing tower for a second. Interesting enough, according to the tyres, Schwartz was going to go out there on a set of reds. I think there's another driver involved in this one actually as well that we're waiting to see. I'll come into it, so I'll get him onto the screen as well, ready to go. Make some live adjustments to the broadcast banner as we gear up, ready to go. Live editing on air for broadcasting. So Callum Ilott will have to take it as well to go through. 14 in this session, just 6 will progress. Newgarden standing by, ready to go.
There is Alex Palou in this session going up against Louis Foster, who was our first-time pole sitter last time out at Road America. Also the likes of Scott Dixon, Carl Kirkwood, Newgarden and Power in this session. Newgarden and Power trying to save the day for Penske after Scott McLaughlin was eliminated in the first part of qualifying. Kevin Lee's just caught up with him.
Scott, I think I heard you say the car is so good. What is going on? Do you have any idea yet?
Yeah, I'll just get held up, you know, or you get into a bad spot, you have to back off, you can't use the tire at the right spot. So really bummed for the Odyssey battery team. Like I genuinely feel like should have been easy to transfer there. So yeah, it's pretty bad.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
We talked about it in practice. We talked about it at the top of the show. Finding those gaps at Mid-Ohio is so difficult to do. You know, it's an average length track. It's not that it's particularly short, but the run up to that alternate start finish line could just create these bottlenecks.
So here's a look at who progresses. Kiffin Simpson on a fantastic run at the moment. So too Christian Rasmussen. Hats off to Nolan Siegel as well. Colton Herter overcoming a difficult start to the weekend. Marcus Ericsson putting that crash this morning behind him. And Christian Lundgaard fastest of all at 1:05.2. Now we will see a big name fall out in this session. There's no two ways about it. Here's the lineup. It's Palou, Foster, Rosenquist, Dixon, Kirkwood and Newgarden, Armstrong and Power, Eilert, Malukas, Rahal, Rossi, VK and Schwartzman. We will lose some big names in this second part of qualifying. Kevin, what can you tell us about who's running what tire?
Well, one thing I'll note is of those that advanced, Marcus Ericsson in Group 1 is the only one that used 2 sets of the softs. So make a note of that for round 2. In this group, Louis Foster used the same strategy to win the pole at Road America. He is on softs to start. So is Felix Rosenquist, Robert Schwartzman, Alexander Rossi, Rinus VK, and Graham Rahal was the last to roll off.
Interesting stuff. How much of that is just about confidence, guys? Just getting that feel on that soft tire, given that so much of today's running has been on the hard?
I think it's more about the guesswork of the red tire improving in high temperatures. That was really the surprise for me at Road America, was Louis Foster's pole. The speed just continued to get better. Normally what we're used to with the soft tire is you get one peak early lap and then you struggle to hang on to get the same level of grip on the second and third try. With Louis Foster at Road America, it just seemed to keep improving. The question is, will the same hold true here?
Well, and here's the thing with Road America. Louis Foster set that pole on a set of used reds.
Yeah, exactly. And what's interesting, T-Bell, is in that Firestone Fast 6 at Road America, 3 drivers had new tires, 3 drivers had used. Foster had used on the pole, then it was the 3 new tires, and then so it wasn't a trend with the tire for everyone that the used were getting better and better. Foster just found a phenomenal amount of pace, and I gotta say, I think here so far from what we saw in practice, the softs are hanging on a little bit longer than what we saw at Road America, so there's a good chance that a used set could be in the fight for pole.
The thing is that 1 lap at Road America is 2 laps at Mid-Ohio. Right. It's a much longer track, so you really can't use lap count as much as mileage is the critical point for evaluating tires. I go back to what Scott McLaughlin just told us. The key is clear track and making sure you don't get held up at any point and you can find the rhythm and the confidence.
And who's ahead of Will Power on track? Once again, it's the number 10 of Alex Palou. They're the Aussies Boneyard sponsored Meyer Shank of Felix Rosenquist, 4th coming into this weekend in the championship. Aussie Black Sabbath, wish them the best of luck playing their final ever gig tonight in the UK. The legends that they are.
And this car looks pretty sorted through that section 4 to 9. That's where so much of the lap time is made and lost. And he goes all the way to the top with that 105.8. But the handling right now on this MSR machine looks pretty stout.
Dialed in for Rosenquist on the run down here to 2, off camber, uphill, downhill on the Power. This will be the run to the start of the race tomorrow. And we'll get a little view here of what it's like on board when you hit that bump down into the newly profiled turn 4, right here.
Over 180 miles an hour as he hits the brakes for 4. This section here is all about compromise. If you carry too much speed into one corner, it throws you off for your car placement for the next. Felix a bit wide there, missing that apex curb in 6th. There's definitely a little bit of lap time in that.
Louis Foster going to P1 on that early red strategy, just like this guy Rosenquist. Alexander Rossi also early to the red tire as Rosenquist tunes down his engine power, tries to cool off the motor. He'll come to pit lane, re-rack, and have another go.
The interesting thing with that time from Louis Foster, a 105.5, is that the cutoff for the fastest 6 drivers from the first group was a 105.71, so 0.2 to the good for Louis Foster.
So do you chill if you're Louis Foster and you look at that cutoff. I think there's way too much muscle in Group 2 to feel comfortable and confident.
Yeah, that's a great point.
The track gets quicker. That time is rarely the same for both sessions. And like you say, there's some big hitters in Group 2. So you're definitely not sitting comfortable as power goes a little bit wide there on the exit of 4. That compromises the entry to 5.
So just a preview to tomorrow where you have to run both the soft and the hard tire. Who's fastest on the hard tire to this point in this group? Alex Palou. Dixon second. Now Palou goes 105.9, even quicker on the hard tire. That is a shot across the bow of everybody in the field.
Power improves, but only as far as 9th. He's had a little bit of a wayward couple of laps, put a couple of wheels off.
Steer issues.
Foster on a 105.5, Rossi on a 105.6, VK 105.8. The top 4, including Rosenqvist, all out on the softer tyre as things stand. So Palou with a 105.9 on the hard is an incredibly strong lap.
Yeah, no surprise there. Alex Palou being quick on that hard tire. He just seems to have a little bit of magic with that particular compound. It's not usually the key in qualifying, but man, does it serve him well in the races as we see Schwartzman now leaving the pits on another set of the softs.
The Prema drivers slowest in this session so far, 13th and 14th. And Schwartzman, who had so much glory, surprise glory, back in May at the Indianapolis 500, but it has been a difficult season for Prema as they march their way over to America from so much success in Europe. Showing once again just how challenging, just how tricky it is to turn up and be competitive in the NTT IndyCar Series. Now, everybody leaving the pits on the fresh, soft tire, 3 3/4 minutes to go.
And at the exact same time. It never ceases to amaze me, even with a 2.25-mile track. Everyone's on that same program. They've timed out an out lap, 2 push laps, trying to get back to the finish line. And you know, this is where the gapping has to happen. And sometimes when all those cars leave together, it can just create such a headache for the drivers.
Kevin, what can you tell us about the man who sat on pole just a few weeks ago in Road America, Louis Foster?
He was a little bit concerned about what he was going to have on the softs. The car has been fast on the harder compound. It was yesterday. He was 3rd quick in that run, but near the back on the softs. And then this morning is only run on the hard compound where he was 3rd quick again. So he said, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping what we learned today, and the car was even better today on the hards than yesterday, is going to transfer. But he said, I think we won't find out until we get there. So that is probably another reason why they decided to run a 2nd set of softs. He's on the 2nd set now, but he was fastest with some pretty legit competition like Rossi and Rosenqvist that have also been out on the softs so far.
I was going to say, that was a very slow prep lap. That was the slowest we've seen somebody really going through that section of the racetrack. It wasn't just about finding a gap because there was nobody in front of him on track. So different drivers having slightly different approaches on how to warm these Firestones up and really get them in that perfect operating window.
Pedestrian, I think is how we would describe these laps from the likes of Schwartzman, Rosenqvist, Louis Foster, as Rosenqvist now starts to turn things up.
And Rosenqvist had to get going because this guy, Kyle Kirkwood, sits just behind him. So Rosenqvist could wait no longer without running the risk of a qualifying interference penalty. Kirkwood up to temp, up to speed, and hustling.
This a proper lap then from Kyle Kirkwood through what will be the final few corners of the racetrack tomorrow during the race itself, but for qualifying it's already a 1/3 of the way through the lap, and Kirkwood already 0.3 of a second to the good through turn 1, down the straight and up the hill into turn 2. It's looking great for Kirkwood so far, 0.4 of a second, tracking absolutely perfectly.
There's such a good feeling from inside the cockpit. You've got those numbers on your dash. You can see what that delta is, and when you just see all green, you see every corner, that number grows, just showing you that you've got the grip, you've got the confidence in the car. Front bar adjustment for him.
Pretty late to make that front bar adjustment. Just getting to the brake zone, saw 182 miles an hour on the straightaway. A few corners to go here, but car looks to be turning really well, laying down the power with aggression. Should be a great lap.
Through the sweepers now for Kyle Kirkwood. No corners left, just absolutely on the gas. Over the line for him, and that is the fastest time of the session so far, a 105.5.
And he's going to try to push again.
Oh! Oh, below to the top. A 105.2 matches and in fact improves on Lundgaard's 105.28.
A lot of drivers below the cutoff are tracking green. Of course, if you're below that 6th place of Rinus VeeKay, anything that's green, that's 2 VK's lap. Now to Armstrong's lap as VeeKay gets bumped out. A lot of drivers so close to that lap time.
Under 30 seconds remain on board with Scott Dixon, who has not had it his own way, has not had it easy in qualifying this year, and he's tracking down. He will get another run at it.
Oh, it's going to be close. Dixon just makes it.
Joseph Newgarden, we're talking hundredths of a second for the Penske driver to transfer in. Moves up to 6th and deposes Dixon, but only just and only for now, as every driver now on their last lap. Flag is out, times will count. What's Kirkwood got? Can he improve from a 105.5? Kirkwood stays where he is, now on board with Dixon. 100th of a second. Less than 100th of a second, half 100th of a second, now 2/10 up for Scott Dixon as Malukas jumps up to 5th place. Newgarden deposed down to 7th, but is tracking up, as is Dixon, as is Armstrong. Will Power, though, is down and out. Can Newgarden save Penske's blushes, or will he go the same way as Power and McLaughlin?
Little correction from Dixon through turn 4. He lost a little bit of time, but he's making it back up here.
This is where he was strong. A little slow in, but great power down and a great exit for Dixon. It looks good enough.
Big lap from Scott Dixon. About a quarter of a second to the grid, takes into P3. Has Newgarden got enough? I'm not sure, because that Dixon lap looks to have put it beyond Joseph Newgarden. The horror show for Penske continues. Newgarden is out. Power is out. McLaughlin is out. Palou is fastest. Louis Foster, once again, with a phenomenal lap. Dixon is through, Kirkwood is through, Armstrong and Rossi make it through to the 12.
Team Penske will start on row 9 and side by side on row 11. Are you kidding me?
This year, it's no longer a joke. Penske in major trouble.
Surprise, surprise, Penske are off the pace once again this weekend. The team are looking in the middle of nowhere at the moment. So we have a new group going in. Palou, Foster, Dixon, Kirkwood, Armstrong and Rossi progress to the second round coming through. Then going out, Malukas, Rosenquist, Newgarden, Ringhall, Power, Eilert, VeeKay and Schwartzman. So all 3 of the Penske's out and not even making it to the top 12 and the Firestone Fast 6. This is certainly a most strange weekend coming in for INDYCAR here at Mid-Ohio. We are all set though for hopefully it's going to be a fascinating and entertaining system as it comes into it. As we are waiting to see what's going to happen next as coming back into the car as well. Scott Dixon getting a bit of a spit and polish coming in as well. Getting all set for the next session to go out in a few moments time here in the Honda 200 at Mid-Ohio. Already seen Joseph Newgarden on his scooter heading back into the paddock, and Scotty Mac's car also being pushed back into the technical garages as well. Quite a surprising trip then we're seeing here, and not really the one we were expecting to come into play. Getting set then. In a few moments we'll be back with the Fox team and the next session will be underway. Okay, let's head back to Fox and we get ready for the next session. Group 2 is coming up next.
a big one.
Devastating result. Well powered.
Penske failed tech.
No, not a crash.
Scott McLaughlin.
The devastation.
Penske. None of their cars remain in this race.
That is a terrifying view.
Joseph Newgarden's day is done. Such a difficult time we've thrown out to Kevin.
Well, as you can see, this was just moments ago. I'm right next to our camera, and I had asked Joseph clearly twice if he was willing to chat, and got no acknowledgement. So the nightmare season continues for Team Penske, and specifically for Joseph Newgarden.
Half of the course season. Bit of a trend, isn't it? I don't think we've spoken to Joseph for about a month now.
It's not had much positive to talk about, if we're completely honest. But there are your 12 who progress. Christian Lundgaard, Ericsson, Herta, Siegel, Rasmussen and Simpson, Palou and Foster, Dixon and Kirkwood, Armstrong and Rossi.
Getting set down for the next group of 12 to go out there onto the circuit. There's a red flag that's just gone out, however, in NASCAR. Just to update you if you're watching our two streams side by side. We're getting all set then for the next 12 to venture out onto the circuit here in qualifying for the Honda Indy 200. It's going to be a long wait actually to come into it.
Well, welcome back to Mid-Ohio. One driver who didn't make it through to the 12 but came agonizingly close, Felix Rosenquist, who's standing by with Georgia.
And Felix Rosenquist misses it just by the skin of your teeth right there. Did you feel like your last lap might have been impeded a little bit?
Yeah, I did based on my first lap, and then kept going. And I had Schwartzman in front of me. He was like slowing down and going and slowing down. I don't know. He was slow as he was, and he also kept slowing down. So I just got really close to him and I pitted because I was never going to improve anyway. So yeah, unfortunate, but yeah, it's tight as well. You know, the first lap was almost enough, but yeah, I didn't really feel like we should have transferred there. So
Thanks, Felix.
thank you.
And frustration for Felix in the Black Sabbath Ozzy Osbourne liveried Meyershank car this weekend. 12 remain. Lundgaard and Palou, Ericsson and Foster, Herta and Dixon, Siegel, Kirkwood, Rasmussen, Armstrong, Simpson and Rossi.
What does everybody do for tires? I saw Louis Foster on used reds. Alex Palou here going used blacks. There's Foster's car. So give us an early indication if the used reds hold up and perform like they did, especially for Foster at Road America.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Louis Foster for me has been one of the most impressive qualifiers of this half a season that we've had so far. As a rookie coming in, okay, he knows the majority of the tracks from Indy Next. He doesn't know this car, he doesn't know these tires, and he's certainly not used to this level of competition.
And look, you just got to compare him against his teammate Graham Rahal. 4/10 was the benefit, was the advantage that he had. And over Graham, who is no slouch around this place. He's qualified well here, he's raced well here, he's won here. So yeah, the job that this young guy is doing in this kind of second part of the season, he's gotten his feet wet, he's starting to understand the processes and procedures of being an IndyCar driver versus being an Indy Next driver, and he's really coming into his own.
Jack, what can you tell us about the car that we're seeing on track now, that of Christian Rasmussen and his teammate Alexander Rossi?
Yeah, Will, both of them were absolutely flying in that first part. Early in the weekend, I managed to speak with Alexander Rossi and kind of just generally asked him, how are you feeling coming into this weekend? He told me they had a little bit of a eureka moment at Road America where they were very excited, felt like there was a lot of low-hanging fruit to have a great weekend this weekend in Mid-Ohio. Kevin.
It is brutal hot today. This is, by the way, the one-year anniversary of the debut of hybrid power and alternative electric energy in IndyCar, and sometimes they can overheat a little bit. Kyle Kirkwood was told on his outlap, do not regenerate or deploy. We need it to cool down just a little bit, but I think he's still going to have it here for his qualifying run.
Interesting stuff.
The reason the teams are so concerned about hybrid is once the hybrid gets to a certain temperature point, it's uncool. You can't get it back down, and that's the threshold that the teams are really looking at. They wanted to make sure Kirkwood doesn't exceed that thermal limit where there's really no chance for them to get the temperature back down after that point. So the benefit is you want to run things right at the limit all the time, and Kirkwood and his team, they're right on that threshold.
I wonder how close they'll get to that threshold in the race tomorrow, if it's already getting to that point. Just in qualifying here today, 8.5 minutes remain on the clock. Lundgaard with a 107.3, Foster with a 108.6 as everyone just winds themselves up and gets their oh, big moment for Louis Foster, rear wheels onto the dirt, but holds it and continues. You all right, Townsend?
I've been that guy in that seat with my right rear hanging off the exit of turn one. It did not end pretty, and with Louis Foster, I could tell he didn't want to lift. He was laying into the throttle. Let's take another look here. Man, wow. That thing almost flew out from under him.
You got to remember, that's a 140-mile-an-hour minimum speed corner, so you are absolutely hauling the mail through there in an IndyCar. Steering's all loaded. If you have one of those snaps, it can be so hard to catch, but cat-like reflexes on the young man from Odium, England.
Let's see what it's done to his lap time over the line. And he goes quickest, a 106.3.
I would say that was a no lift in turn one.
When in doubt, flat out.
Fix it with throttle.
On board with Herta, who's tracking almost 3 seconds to the good over the time of Christian Rasmussen, which would put him up on a 107.
His teammate Kyle Kirkwood has jumped to the top with a 105.9, so these times are falling fast.
Yeah, used reds look to be a pretty good solution as Colton Herta goes to P2. Looks like he's going to stay out for another lap. That'll be very telling Herta's next lap.
Herta twice a pole sitter here at Mid-Ohio.
Georgia, what can you tell us about Colton Herta?
I can tell you that under the brake, Colton Herta got out of his car between getting into the Fast 12. He got out of his car, and they made some major changes to the front of the end of that car. A bunch of geometry changes. There was upwards of 7 crew members working on the front of that car during the break. And then I asked them, what are these changes actually going to do? And they said, we're really trying to hone in and find some more grip on the front end of this car, and it seems to be paying off for Herta right now.
Look at that line feathering on the left front there. You'll see that bead continue to shrink or grow a bit, but that suggests quite a bit of wear to the left front tire and maybe some pretty aggressive cambers here on the Gamebridge Honda. Herta one more corner to the line. He's done a 106.1. Let's see if this is better. Nope, slower.
So
106.4.
Herta stays on the 106.1. Armstrong is improving. Dixon is improving. So too Kiffin Simpson, just to get themselves up and hopefully through into the Firestone Fast 6. We will see, I would imagine, another run in this session as we're not even 5 minutes to go. 5.5 minutes.
Heard the call, one more lap for Dixon here on these hards. He goes up into P6. Only 2 of the drivers currently in the top 6 on those harder black sidewalk Firestones. Marcus Armstrong, we haven't really heard a lot about him this weekend, but he's really stepping up here on Saturday. Had sort of muted practice sessions, was okay, not terrific. 13th this morning in second practice. Teammate Felix Rosenquist was in the top 5, but he's really bringing it on right now. These MSR cars, pretty sporty at the minute.
Yeah, permanent road courses for Marcus Armstrong have looked pretty good along with the street circuit. Started off with a 4th, a 7th at Long Beach. These are qualifying results. Had a 9th at Detroit. Great qualifying on the short oval in St. Louis, but going to start no worse than 12th tomorrow, so he continues the trend. And now on board with Dixon.
Yeah, Marcus Armstrong 11th in the championship, 5 top 10s of the 9 races held so far this year. And Dixon sits 6th still with a 106.5. Rossi will not improve. Time to come into the pits, strap on a fresh set of boots, and get back out again with 4.5 minutes on the clock. Kiffin Simpson leaves his pit box as his teammate Scott Dixon enters the pits. We ride on board now thanks to Mission Foods with Christian Lundgaard on the run down to turn 4. We'll get a feeling for that bump once again where the light asphalt becomes dark. That's the new part of the track right there.
Warm-up lap here for Lundgaard.
Again, just being so ginger on this warm-up lap.
Especially on power, James, right? It's all about protecting, I think, the rears. The fronts will come in pretty well on a hot day like this, but you just don't want to give up rear bites early.
It's also about not slipping the tire. So wheel spin obviously just spikes the surface temperature without warming up the carcass, the core of the tire. Same thing with driving through a corner with a lot of lock and just sliding the front.
And this is interesting because this is not a push lap either. So it's a full out lap, 1 time by, and then 2nd time by, hard push for Lundgaard. That to me feels like the right strategy just based on what I've seen in terms of how the tire's coming in.
And when we look at drivers who need a strong second half to the season, this was a guy we were talking about so positively in the opening part of the season. Really became McLaren's lead driver over the opening 4 races. Started with an 8th place at St. Pete, then 3 podiums in succession. But the last 3 races for him have been a 24th, a 14th, and a 24th. He needs to get that season back to where it was at the opening part of the year, where he really was the driver leading the charge for Arrow McLaren.
But at the same time, it's great that this team has 2 drivers that can really push each other, push the team forward. Right now, they're 2nd and 6th in the championship standings with O'Ward and Lundgaard. And now he's found himself a nice bit of racetrack. His teammate Nolan Siegel is on track in front of him, and the power goes down. That's a nice gap. It's about a 3-second gap. That's kind of what you need to make sure you're not being affected by the dirty air of the car in front. Getting the maximum downforce on that car, maximum grip through those high-speed corners.
Pretty vicious wiggle there through turn 10 for Christian Lundgaard. He comes to the front straightaway here. See how he does in turn 1. It's all about getting to this apex. It's hard to see when you turn in. He does a great job. Nails turn 1.
141 mile an hour minimum speed as he's back off.
He's got an issue.
Oh.
I don't know why we're putting him up situation. catch him if I kept pushing.
Does he have a temperature issue with the hybrid, perhaps? Because that was an absolutely magic turn one. That's the best run I've seen all weekend.
That was nailed. Absolutely nailed. Kevin, what's going on, mate?
Or is it fuel?
Yeah, he's concerned about the car that's in front of him, and I think he was asking, why did we put him out, his teammate Nolan Siegel, in front of me? Because I'm catching him, so he's going to have to abort another lap. He's only going to get 1 lap.
Wow. I mean, we were just talking about how the gap we thought was pretty good.
And now you've got a full lap additionally on the tires. You've got to mentally get regrouped, focused, lock in. And that's a really frustrating situation. I didn't necessarily see Nolan Siegel, and there's no reason why Nolan Siegel could have gotten out of the way of his teammate. So that was a bit of a surprise.
And all the while, everyone else is improving on the strategy that they wanted to take. Their ultimate strategy. Kirkwood improves to a 1 minute 5.4. Look at the time of Simpson. 7/10 to the good over Dixon. Armstrong is up. Rossi is up. Everybody from 7 to 12 is up as it stands at the moment. Simpson up to 3rd. That's a lovely lap from Kiffin as Pelot to the top on a 105.2 again. Ericsson now to 4th. Can Siegel and Herta hold on? What have they got in the tank as we enter the final 30 seconds of this top 12 shootout to make the Firestone Fast 6. Rasmussen improves, but only as far as 7th.
Still a lot of green in the bottom half of that pylon. Herta goes across the line. Up to P2 now, right behind Pelot. Just 1/10 of a second separates them. Now Siegel up to P3. Great lap.
That is a monster lap from Nolan Siegel. The question is Lundgaard good enough? He is.
A 105.1, easily the fastest lap that we have seen so far this weekend. And Foster goes even quicker, a 105.0. Incredible lap from Louis Foster. No one else is improving. That will be it. Simpson is there or thereabouts, actually. If Simpson gets a decent exit, Simpson, is he going to depose Kirkwood? He has.
Wow.
Kirkwood's out.
Dixon's got a shot.
Rasmussen is improving. But we are really talking nip and tuck here. It's hundredths of a second for these guys. Rasmussen.
Misshift. Rasmussen grabbed a downshift there. Scott Dixon's close. I don't think it's going to be enough.
Wow. There is a surprise. Scott Dixon is out. Marcus Ericsson is done as well. One of the fastest drivers of this weekend so far. But Kyle Kirkwood, that is your story. 2nd in the championship and only 7th fastest in the top 12. Louis Foster, quickest on a 105.0 from Lundgaard and Pelot, Colton Herta. But Siegel and Simpson, the surprises of the day.
And hello to our viewers who've just joined us on the NASCAR stream of things as we all get underway. I believe all 3 have been completed on centre court. Amazing end, really. So we're getting ready for the final session of the day, which will be the INDYCAR Honda 200 to go into the green.
The downshift, but exit of 2 or exit of 9 instead of the deploy. That's on me. Sorry.
So, Louis Foster, Christian Lundgaard, Alex Palou, Colton Herter, Nolan Siegel and Kiffin Simpson. They are going to be out there on the track shortly for what is going to be a very interesting weekend. Let's head back over to our colleagues at Fox.
We are back at Mid-Ohio. This incredible circuit out in the Ohio agricultural heartland, always so well attended, and it is an absolutely sweltering weekend. The fans out en masse to watch INDYCAR in 2025. Now the 6 who progress are Louis Foster, Christian Lundgaard, Alex Palou, Colton Herter, Nolan Siegel and Kiffin Simpson. Great run from Siegel, great run from Simpson. For Simpson, this will be a career best qualifying position wherever he ends up in this Firestone Fast 6. Let's take a little look at what happened to Christian Rasmussen on his run, because, and you guys noticed it, coming out, he catches the downshift.
Yeah, at first you think to yourself, well, how's that possible? But we're talking about the hybrid era. James, you and I didn't race in the hybrid era, but there are additional levers and buttons on the backside of the steering wheel. And thanks to Cosworth, we've got our amazing Cosworth demonstration wheel here in the booth. And on the back of the wheel, you can see exactly how that's possible. So Cosworth wheel, it's got everything, and on the back you'll see the paddles right there. On the upper side we've got hybrid, regen and deploy up here, and then you've got the shift paddles. So if you're deploying with this little guy and you're downshifting with this little guy and you are anxiously trying to bust your way into the Firestone Fast 6, it's very easy to see that you could grab this instead of this when you want that last little boost of deployment. An easy mistake, but also a reminder that we're still just 1 year in and there's still learnings happening there. So a frustrating thing for Christian Rasmussen. Would it have been enough to bump him in? Probably.
And what I'll kind of add on to what we were saying earlier, why is it on that side? I think I've got the good theory on that. You're upshifting with your right hand. So you want to have your left hand free to deploy because it's usually on the exit of a corner. Your right hand's already grabbing that upshift. He was still turning coming out of turn 9 when he went for the paddle. It's so easy to do, but I'd be surprised if it led to a switch up in the configuration.
But Will, to your point, there's options. You don't have to run.
There's a good 25,
right
30
here.
options.
You could take regen, or sorry, deploy. You could take this, and you could use one of the weight jacker buttons, which guess what? You don't need on a road course. That's an oval tool. So some ergonomic developments here in IndyCar, maybe something the team's going to consider. It's the first time that we know about the mistake as you look at his steering wheel that just came off, and this is exactly the region where he's got deploy and downshift on the same side. Good stuff.
Well, Rasmussen disappointed not to progress through, but Foster, Lundgaard, Palou, Herter, Siegel and Simpson will.
We are gearing up for the last qualifying of the day, the session coming up then shortly here on JB Motorsports. Reminders that after this you can join Josh T and Seth Eves as we get ready for the Xfinity Series race at Chicago. You'll be redirected to that after this stream ends. And tomorrow we've got Wimbledon, day 7. Yeah, 7th day of Wimbledon, all coming up. I want to thank JT actually for an amazing day covering Wimbledon. I wasn't able to get there today. I was hoping to get to the final match, but everything else is overrun. So I just want to say thank you very much to JT. Couldn't have done it without him. What a fantastic producer and what a fantastic bloke he is. JT, if you're listening, love you. So, tomorrow we've got the F4 British Race 2. That's at 8:15 a.m. These are all British summer times. Then we've got the F3 Sprint Race at 9:25. The second race of the GB3 from Hungary is going to be delayed on JB2, probably the F2 feature race at 11. The British Grand Prix from 1:30, lights out at 3. Mid-Ohio warm-up is going to be delayed as well, just to let you know. Then we'll have Florida Race 2 at 2:55. GB3 Hungary Race 3 at 4:30. Mid-Ohio is at 6, and it'll be a dual broadcast between me and Omi as I have to leave to go to Chicago. And that's at 7, green flag at 7:25. It's going to be a lot of day of action here for the racing action. So let's go back over and get this final qualifying underway. A little bit longer than we anticipated for Fox to come back. Here they are.
Back at Mid-Ohio, the drivers on the left-hand side of your screen, they're the ones who will compete for pole position here. One driver who won't. Second place in the championship, one of the fastest drivers all weekend, Kyle Kirkwood.
Kyle, you needed 0.04 of a second. You also finished a little bit earlier. Does that impact things at the track getting better or something else?
No, but what impacts it is one of the Carpenter cars in front of us. We got too close to them. They were just backing up. I don't know what lap they were on or what they were doing, but we were probably just outside of a second away, which I don't think it's technically impeding, but that's enough in a high-speed corner to cost you a handful of hundredths. I lost probably 1/10.5 in the back sector, so really upset about that, I'm not gonna lie, because we were on for like a 2 or a 3, and that would have easily transferred us and we would have had a shot at the pole once again, but that just ruined our session there. But nonetheless, we're 7th, we got an extra set of reds, so take the positives where we can. But yeah, no, we were better than that, but we just got held up.
That is the positive. From 7th, he will have 2 sets of new softs for the race tomorrow.
If you're going to have 2 softs, where do you want to start? 7. I mean, it's
as high as possible, and that's as high as you can be.
It is some consolation, but I understand the frustration. And he points out maybe too close to call as interference, but man, when you know you're on it, you know you have it, and you don't get it, it is a tough pill to swallow.
Nolan Siegel's career best start, P6 at Barber earlier this year. Kiffin Simpson has never been in the Firestone Fast 6. Louis Foster took his first ever NTT IndyCar Series pole last time out at Road America. Lundgaard, Palou and Herta all looking to return to top spot.
Firestone.
Track in the new Open AI livery. He has been crushingly dominant this season, but he has only 2 pole positions to his name. I say only 2 pole positions to his name. He is the only driver this season with more than 1 pole position. Can he make it through?
All right, here's a random stat for you guys.
Hit me.
Fast 6 appearances this season, counting today. Palou, 7, Herta, 6, Lundgaard, 5, Foster, 3, Siegel, 2, Simpson, 1. That's your current top 6, almost a perfect.
That's including today.
Including today.
Wow.
So a wide variety, a wide array of different levels of Fast 6 experience so far this year.
Well, based on the numbers, you would expect Palou, Herta, and Lundgaard to be the ones duking it out for pole, but I mean, Louis Foster, he'll be on used reds here, just like at Road America.
Served him well last time.
So it seemed like one hand tied behind your back, but at Road America, not the case. Those used reds delivering for Louis Foster.
And I'm just trying to think back and trying to look back. I don't think Kiffin Simpson did red, so I'm pretty sure he has a new set.
We'll have to see if we can get an update on pit lane regarding tires left there, but there you see Kiffin Simpson sitting on definitely used reds, so it doesn't look like he's going to try to make 2 runs here. So Foster and Simpson used tires. You've got 4 Hondas and 2 Chevys battling for pole. And you think about the performance between the 2 engines on this track. I was talking to some of the team personnel during the lunch break, and general consensus is maybe Chevy's making a little bit more peak power, but the grunt mid-range of the Honda is still pretty fat, pretty strong.
2 McLarens, 2 Ganassis, 1 RLL, and 1 Andretti. This is the driver of that Andretti, Colton Herta. How he would love to get back to the top step of the podium here.
This guy here would love to get back to the podium.
Oh yeah.
And get that first win for this new team.
2 pole positions to his name. His last one coming back in 2023 for Christian Lundgaard. It's been a while.
He converted that one to a victory. That was on the streets of Toronto, his first and only career victory.
Ooh. Little correction through turn 1 for Christian Lundgaard. Not quite as on it, not quite as dialed as he was that last time that we saw him through there when he had to bail out of the lap.
You know, we're 9 races in, soon to be 10 races into the season, and with Christian Lundgaard joining McLaren, I think we can all say that he has delivered on expectations. He has delivered on that big contract that they laid out to Lundgaard to make the move from Rahal Letterman-Lanigan. He's shown leadership, he's shown poise, he's shown patience and pace.
100%.
Really a nice package. I don't know if you have any conflicting opinion there, but I think Lundgaard has nailed it.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, he's still got some learning to do, I think, from Pato on the ovals. You know, you got one of the best guys to learn from, but he's only had a couple chances at it with this team and with this car. Big difference from what he's used to at RLL. So overall, it's been a very strong season. As you see, Pelot there kind of battling the back end of that number 10.
Lundgaard reminds me so much of the great Simon Pagenaud in terms of a very analytical approach, delivering right away with big expectations in a new team, and still taking his time to learn ovals. It took a few years for Pagenaud, and then he finally, you know, became one of the best ever, winning an Indy 500 and delivering for Team Penske. As this guy, Alex Palou, has delivered maybe more than ever expected.
Foster to the top of the times, and I think he's done for the day unless he's having a cool down lap. But this guy, Alex Palou, looking to make it his 3rd pole position of the season as the clock enters the final minute. Palou is almost a second to the good over Louis Foster. Under the bridge and over the line, Alex Palou, it's a 1 minute and 5.2. Has anybody got anything in the tank to take it to him? And Palou continues to improve. 30 seconds on the clock, and Palou going to stretch his legs and take it even further away, but Lundgaard is up through the first couple of corners.
Colton Herta crossing the line. That's it. He is backed out P2 for the 26.
So Colton Herta second as it stands, but not for much longer because Simpson jumps up to second on a 105.9. Siegel improves to 5th. Lundgaard down on the ultimate time of Palou, but Palou stretching away. 1.3 tenths up, 1.4 tenths up. Almost 2 tenths up now for Alex Palou, who is coming down through 5 and into 6. We ride on board with Lundgaard, who is hundredths of a second away. It will be between Palou and Lundgaard for pole position here at Mid-Ohio. Has Lundgaard got enough? He's tracking up, then he's tracking down. It is nip and tuck. 1 corner remains.
Might be good enough for second, but Alex Palou continues to improve.
Lundgaard over the line. Goes to second. And that is as good as it's going to get. Palou improved to a 105.0. Lundgaard a 105.2. Kiffin Simpson driver of the day, as far as I'm concerned, in P3, 105.9. Herta, Foster, Siegel comes home sixth.
And Kiffin did that on a used set of reds.
Oh, Siegel jumped up right at the end.
P3, nice job, pal.
He did that on a used set of reds, which is impressive because we look back, he didn't do red in Q1. He's saving an extra set for the race, so he's starting third with 2 sets of sticker reds in the bank. That's an incredible decision and performance from Kiffin Simpson.
And I think encouraging for the race tomorrow is the lap time of Louis Foster. I know he's P6, but the reason I look at that time, Will, is 106.2 is more than a second slower than Alex Palou and more than a second slower than what Louis Foster did on sticker soft tires. What that tells me is there's a pretty good fall off as the red runs lap after lap, and it makes for a great race.
This guy back to the top. It's his 3rd pole position of 2025. His first one since the Indy GP.
Go, man. Hey, that was a flyer. Well done. Oh, yeah. Nice, man. Awesome.
Kiffin Simpson and Nolan Siegel with their best ever qualifying results. For Simpson, his first time in a Firestone Fast 6 sees him start on the 2nd row of the grid. Nolan Siegel, P6 was his best ever start at Barber earlier this year. He will start on the 2nd row of the grid as well in 4th place. Really brilliant performances from both of those drivers. And 2 McLarens in the top 4. Great result all round. But what about this guy? Alex Palou, a 105.0, unstoppable, undefeatable, 3 pole positions for the season. So let's go down now to Kevin, who's with the NTT P1 award winner.
And career pole number 9. He's already won 3 championships, and you had said coming into this season, one of the things left to do is start qualifying up front consistently. Have you ticked that box off a little bit more now, too?
For sure. I mean, ever since I started with CGR, we've got great cars. But I would say we've always struggled qualifying up front. So this year it's been phenomenal. Like the speed we have in the cars, in every single racetrack we show up, it's been amazing. So yeah, it's everything. All the work that everybody at Chip Ganassi Racing is doing, all our partners. So super happy. Tomorrow's going to be a great day for sure.
So I hear there could be a couple of different strategies in play. How much do you like being able to control maybe what strategy the whole race is? Certainly what you want to do, not depending on anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, we could have saved that last set of new soft tires here in the Fast 6 to try and have an advantage tomorrow. But we're like, man, we really think that starting up front, like top 3, it's always going to benefit us more. So we know that there's going to be some cars that save those tires. So they're going to be a big threat for tomorrow. But yeah, happy with our car, happy obviously with our starting position, and cannot wait.
Congratulations. Alex Palou in 4 starts with Chip Ganassi Racing here. His average finish is 2nd, and he's starting on the pole for the 2nd year in a row at Mid-Ohio.
His 3rd pole of the season ties his best run of his career. Today has been a good day for Alex Palou.
Well, my thanks to all of you at home for tuning in and staying with us. It's Alex Palou on pole again. We'll see you tomorrow for the Honda Indy 200.